Welcome to Freedom's Foundation. I am the Constitution guy, and last week I did an explanation of how insurance works. Now, if you haven't seen that video, then you should definitely go back and watch it real quick because that'll give you some great background for this video. This week, I'm going to talk about one of the ideas that our politicians have for fixing health insurance in this country and why it won't work. Specifically, we're going to talk about the now infamous birth control mandate. Now, as soon as you bring up this issue, progressives come out of the woodwork to make all kinds of emotional arguments about how if we don't enact this policy, then there's some poor single mother out in California that she's going to have to choose between food and contraception, and how come you hate poor people? But the bottom line is, at some point, somebody has to be an adult and deal with reality. And the reality is, this solution won't work. As I mentioned last week, insurance is something that you buy to protect you in case something bad or unexpected happens to you. So let's look at why it doesn't make sense to buy insurance for something that you know you're going to need, like contraception and your yearly checkup or those types of things. We still have our three friends here to help us out. We've got Mini Batman, my Ryan Sandberg action figure, and a Britney Spears doll. And all three of them have decided that they need a health insurance policy that covers contraception the same way that the government's mandating. And that makes sense because Batman, well, he's a gentleman and he wants to take care of Mrs. Mini Batman. And Rhino, well, he's managing in the minor leagues now. He's not pulling in that major league money, so anything he can get to help himself out financially is probably a good thing. And Britney, well, I think we can all agree that we don't need Britney having any more babies, right? So all three of them want this health insurance plan that covers contraception. So all of them are going to put in their $500 yearly premium just like last time. So there's $500 for Batman, $500 for Rhino, $500 for Britney. Now let's assume that birth control costs $1,000 a year. They're on the Sandra Fluck plan, so don't worry about it. It's expensive birth control, isn't it? So Mini Batman goes in to get his contraception because he expected to buy it. So he comes back out and he gets his birth control. And Rhino goes in to get his and, wait a minute, there's not any money left. See? You can't get insurance just to make the things that you want to buy cheaper. I mean, that's not insurance. That's getting other people to pay for your stuff. If this really worked, if you could buy insurance that would magically make expensive things cheaper, I would go out and get Mercedes insurance tomorrow. If this honestly worked, then why stop there? Why not go for vacation insurance and jewelry insurance and video game insurance? This could be fantastic. You see, logically, it just doesn't work. If everybody goes into an insurance policy expecting to get more out than they're putting in, then eventually the insurance company just has to go bankrupt. It's going to run out of money. Which brings up the question, if this is true, then why does my insurance policy cover my yearly physical, for example? Well, chances are you really are paying for those physicals. You just don't know it because you're so far removed from the payment process. I'd almost guarantee that your insurance company has found a way to price the cost of those physicals into the amount that you pay for your insurance policy. You probably contribute some amount towards your health insurance from every paycheck, right? But do you know how much your employer contributes? Go ahead, take a guess. The average health insurance plan for a family costs a little bit over $15,000 a year. Yeah. Maybe those physicals aren't so cheap after all, huh? Now granted, you probably don't see most of that $15,000 because it doesn't come directly out of your paycheck. But it all goes into the cost to your employer of having you work for them. And believe me, your employer considers it to be part of your salary. So, long story short, you are paying for those physicals. And probably a lot more than you would otherwise too. When this birth control mandate goes into effect, your premiums will probably go up to price that in. But the government has another plan for how to make this idea work. They're going to force people to buy comprehensive health insurance plans that cover things that those people don't even need. For example, there are a lot of older people that don't even need contraception. But they're going to have to pay for a plan that has it anyway to make sure that there's enough money in the system to pay for the people that do need contraception. So, in other words, this birth control mandate amounts to getting other people to pay for your stuff. Whenever I get into discussions about health insurance with people, this is the point where they say, oh, but if insurance doesn't cover preventative care, then people might not get important tests like colonoscopies and stuff like that. Yep, that's called freedom. Being able to make your own decisions in life. And sometimes, being able to make your own decisions means being able to make bad decisions. For example, let's take Brittany. If Brittany's not willing, if her health care isn't important enough to her to sacrifice a night out on the town to pay for a colonoscopy or whatever she needs to get done, then why should her health matter enough to me that I should sacrifice a night out on the town to pay for her health care? Remember, that's what this birth control mandate's going to do. It's going to raise premiums on people like me to pay for her health care. So in other words, it's going to force me to make the sacrifices that she's not willing to make in her own life. Insurance is something that you buy to cover unexpected expenses. Forcing health insurance companies to cover contraception isn't insurance. It's getting other people to pay for your stuff. To be blunt about it, it's welfare. And if you honestly think you need welfare to cover your contraception, fine. Let's have that discussion. But we need to be open and honest about what we're really doing, because we need to be able to budget for it and plan for it. Pretending that entitlements like this aren't really welfare, well, that's a good way to do something really stupid, like getting ourselves $15 trillion in debt.